Hi everyone. The problem now that we are going to solve involves the input table as emp details. This table has below columns emp ID, which is the ID of the employee, emp name, which is the name of the employee, emp location, that is the location to which the employee belongs, emp salary, which is the salary of the employee, emp manager ID, which is the ID of the manager for that employee. So every entry indicates information related to the employee along with who is their manager. So for example, for this user, Yuvraj, the manager is a employee with ID 31. That is Mrudula, as her employee ID is 31. So likewise, by referring this column, we can identify who is the manager of particular employee. Now, as part of the output, we need to find the employee with salary more than their manager. So, for example, in this case, for employee Yuvraj, his salary is 7,000 and his manager, that is employee with ID 31, has salary 15,000. It means that the salary of Yuvraj is not greater than his manager. So, Yuvraj will not be part of the output. Taking another example of Nagendra. So Nagendra has salary of 9,500 and his manager is employee with ID 12. Who is employee with ID 12? It is Mohit. And Mohit's salary is 7,100, which is less than Nagendra's salary. So Nagendra, as his salary is more than his manager's salary, he will be part of the output. So this is what we are looking for. We need to find out each of the employee who has salary more than their manager. So hope the input and output is clear. So now we will work on the approach to solve this problem. Okay. So this is the input table that we have. Now this we can refer to as the employee table. What we will do is we will create one more copy of this table. So that will be our second step. So we will have two copies created for this table. One, we will call it as employee table. The other, we will call it as manager table. Know that we are moving towards self join. That is, we are going to join with the same table. So we will consider one table as employee, other table as manager, and we will work on this problem. So what we will do next? Okay, so after creating two copies of the table, next step what we will do is we are going to join these two table. So from the employee table, we will choose the manager ID column, which informs what is the ID of the manager for the employee. And this we have to link with the employee ID of the manager table. Okay, so by linking these columns from respective tables, we can identify who is the manager as to what is their details. So let's see forward. So once we join it, like for example, for the first employee, Mohit, we can see the manager ID is 40. And if we come to the manager table by joining, 40 is Shikhar. So this way, by joining, we can identify the details of the manager as to what is their name, what is their location, what is their salary, and so on. So this way we have joined for each of the rows and we can fetch the details. So ultimately, we will have the data for each of the employee as to who is their respective manager. So this will be our following steps. After that, once we have the details of the manager, we are going to compare the salary of the employee along with the salary of the manager. So this comparison we will do for each of the entries. between the employee's salary and their manager's salary, and we are going to keep the records. So as a next step, we are going to keep the records where the salary of the employee is more than the salary of their manager. So as we can see, we have three such entries here, three such employees whose salary is greater than their manager's salary. So hope it is clear what approach we are going to take. So we are going to do a self join here. We are going to create two copies of the table. One we will call as the manager table, other one is the employee table, and this is what we are going to join. We will join on the manager ID from the employee table and emp ID from the manager table. On this we will join and identify who are the managers of each of the employee. And once we have that, we will compare the salary and identify the final employees who has salary more than their manager. So this is what approach that we will take. Now let's write the query to implement this. Okay. So now we will operate on the input table. This is our input table. Let's fetch the records from this emp details. So as we have to do a self join here, we will create two copies of this table. So let's call the first copy as E. We will give the alias as E. Know that the as keyword is optional. We can give it or we can ignore it. Now what we will do is we will do a inner join. So why we are doing inner join? Because we are interested in only those records where we can find a corresponding match, as to we can find the employees who have managers. If there are no managers, we are not interested in such employees, because finally we have to compare the salary. So that's why we are going ahead with inner join. So now this is our first copy of the table. Now we will create another copy of the table and let's give the alias as M, indicating that this is the manager's table. And the condition that we will be using for joining is we will join on the manager ID of the employee table. So E stands for the employee table. So we will use that and we will use the manager ID column. And from the manager table, we will use the employee ID column. So as we discussed, we will use this join condition. So now what we will do is we will fetch all the columns from both the tables after joining, and let's run and see the output. So this is the data that we have. We have fetched all the columns from both the tables. So as we see till here is the input columns, and then the other one is coming from the manager table. So this is from the employee table, this is from the manager table after the join. And like we see, for each of the entry we have the corresponding information of the manager that is present. For example, for Mrudula, with employee ID 31 having the manager ID 40, we have identified that employee ID 40 is of Shikhar. So Shikhar is manager of Mrudula and their respective salaries are 15,000 and 7,000. So now we have these details. Now what we need to do is we need to find out only the employees whose salary is greater than their manager's salary. So since we are referring these columns from the employee table with alias as E, what we will do is using the same alias, that is we are referring the employee table, we will fetch the salary column and we will say that this salary is greater than the salary coming from the manager table. Okay, so this is the additional condition that we will be adding. We will be checking if the salary of the employee is greater than the salary of the manager. So let's run this and see the output. So now we have fetched only the records where the employee salary is greater than the manager's salary. Okay. So now to distinguish the names, right? So here the column names are similar because in each of the table the column name is same. So what we will do is, for the manager column we will give the alias to give the respective correct names, and we will remove this column as it is a redundant column. It is same as this manager id column from the employee table. So what we will do is, we will keep all the columns from the employee table, and from the managers table we will just fetch the columns from name, location, salary and manager id. We will just skip this employee id column from the manager table. So let's fetch these columns and just give the names. So we will name them as manager name. For the location we will give it as manager location. This is the alias that we are giving now. For the salary it will be manager salary, and for the manager id we will call it as managers manager id. So it is managers manager. Okay, so let's run and see the output. So what basically we have done is, we have renamed the columns for easy understanding. Okay, so these are the columns for the employee, and then remaining are the columns of their manager. So like we see, we have fetched the employees whose salary is greater than their manager's salary. So we have got the right output. Let's quickly go over the query that we have written and summarize it as to what we have done. So we have created two copies of the table. The first table we have gave the alias as E, indicating this is employee table. The second table we have given the alias as M, indicating it is manager table. And this is the join condition that we have added, that is the manager ID of the employee table and employee ID of the manager table. Okay, so this is the link that we have established as we saw in the Excel that we just discussed. The manager ID from the employee table and emp ID from the manager table. So this way we have established the link. And finally we have added this condition to fetch only the employees whose salary is greater than their manager's salary. And we have fetched all the columns from the employee, and for the columns from the manager table we have given the respective aliases. So this way we have solved the problem. So there will be create table and insert statements added in the description. If you found the video useful, please like it. Please provide your feedback in the comments. If you have not yet subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel, and please share the video in your circle so that others can benefit. Thank you.